NFL reporter for ESPN and co-host of the Fantasy Focus Football Podcast. It's Field Yates with Armen and Levack on 104.5 The Team. So, Field, tell me, who is to blame from the Giants' perspective with the clock mismanagement at the end of the game on Sunday night? Who are you pointing the finger to?
Well, I think that he pointed the finger to himself. It's Eli Manning. And listen, this is not some sort of thing that the Giants fans, need to be worried about with Eli Manning going forward. It's a simple mental error. I know that's tough to swallow for a player that's been in the league this long, but Eli Manning admitted it. He's, obviously that this is one I'd like to have back. It's tough, but you know something? It's a play that if the Cowboys don't put together a terrific drive, no one is talking about. So we need to also look at the Dallas side of the equation and how well they performed in such a limited time.
Now, staying with the Giants, all the word is that JPP is in worse shape, missing more hand than we thought he was originally. How do you think this thing plays out? Does he play for the Giants?
That's a good question. Listen, I think it's too soon to make any sort of presumptions about his future in the NFL with a prospective team. I think we just need to see, frankly, what the true state of his hand is in, and also what the timeline is for him to come back. Because obviously for this year, the Giants control his rights. So if he does play in the NFL, he's playing for the New York Giants. All that being said, I think right now the question is, if he does play, what exactly would it be? It's probably the most confusing situation in the NFL right now.
ESPN's Field Yates with Armen and Levack. Field, what is your outlook on the Giants in 2015 based off what we saw on Sunday night?
I think it hasn't really changed all that much. I think this is a team that probably has a 6 to 9 win window. It's a competitive division. We know Philadelphia will be better than they showed on Monday night. We know the Cowboys are going to be a very good team, even with the Dez Bryants injury. So I think for the Giants, it comes down to a few things. Can the offensive line be better? Can the defense maybe put a little more pressure on opposing quarterbacks? Because obviously that was an issue against Dallas on Sunday night. If either of those factors take place, I think this team has a chance to push for 8 or 9 wins.
Phil, when you look at the AFC East, we've seen some improvement out of both the Jets and the Bills. Which team do you think is better for this season as it goes down?
Well, based on week one, the answer is clearly the Buffalo Bills. They were the two teams that had a bunch of buzz surrounding them during the offseason. And one of them met expectations in week one, and one of them fell certainly short. And that was the Miami Dolphins. I mean, they did not perform well against Washington, who I think will be one of the bottom 5 or 6 teams in the NFL this season when it's all said and done. Buffalo, meanwhile, looks like a bunch of gangbusters on defense going up against Andrew Luck, smothering him and holding him to, for his own standards, very pedestrian marks. 2 touchdowns, yes, but 2 interceptions and a lot of confused looks on Andrew Luck's face based off of what Rex Ryan and his defense was able to generate pressure-wise. So Buffalo Bills look like the real deal, at least defensively.
ESPN's Field Yates with Armen and Levack at Field Yates on Twitter. And Field, no pressure. I'm only going to take your answer to this and project it on social media for the entire world to see. Is this the year that the Patriots get dethroned as their division champions?
No.
Son of a
No chance?
But they have so many players that aren't on the roster. How did the Patriots win the division this year, Field?
Well, you guys saw them on Thursday night going up against one of the better teams in the AFC, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Patriots still have arguably the best quarterback in football, arguably the best the best non-quarterback amongst offensive players in football, and Rob Gronkowski. And no team will be better prepared, better coached between Monday and Saturday in terms of the preparation and on Sunday than the New England Patriots. That's an edge they have every single week and will have for as long as Bill Belichick and his staff are running that organization.
Field, we're enjoying the war of words, and it's a one-sided war right now between the Bills and the Patriots this week. Rex and his players throwing out salvos, Bill kind of deflecting them. Will this game live up to the billing? Do the Bills have a chance of taking the Patriots down this weekend at least?
Oh, yeah, they have a chance to take them down this weekend. It's going to be very difficult to go up to Buffalo, play that game. In that atmosphere, the crowd will be roaring. Certainly, there's been a lot of excitement this offseason, as I mentioned earlier, and certainly there's been a lot of reasons to continue to root for that team after the Week 1 performance. The defense is excellent, and they find a way to put the clamps on opposing quarterbacks. Andrew Luck this past week, and then date back to Week 14, the last regular season, what they did to Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning in successive weeks was a thing of beauty for defensive minds or people who enjoy defensive football. All that being said, I think over the long haul, I do believe the Patriots remain the team to beat in the AFC East. Could they be dethroned? Of course. Listen, an injury is something that can impact the division, but I do think the Patriots remain the favorite in the AFC East.
So you heard it here first. Field Yates has said the Bills are guaranteed to beat the Patriots this weekend.
Not what I said, but they have a chance.
ESPN reporter Field Yates with Armen and Levack having some fun today. And, of course, Field, we love the Fantasy Focus Football podcast that's available at ESPN.com that you do every single week. Help us out. If we have Dez Bryant on our fantasy football team, what do we do to fill that void?
You got to find Terrence Williams on the waiver wire, and for most leagues, they run Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So hopefully you took that measure to find Terrence Williams. Stevie Johnson would be another name that comes to mind. Dante Moncrief of the Colts. Those are a few of the names that were amongst the top pickups on waiver wires. James Jones of the Green Bay Packers as well. Hopefully you work that actively, because although it could be just 4 weeks that Dez Bryant misses, it sounds like there's a possibility it's closer to 6 or 8 weeks as well. So tough news, because Dez Bryant, as we know, is one of the studs in the NFL.
Field, aside from Dez Bryant, who are like the biggest losses, like Andre Ellington or who else? Who are the ones that you're seeing people scramble to the waiver wire and try to fix problems with?
Well, obviously Andre Ellington will be one as well because of the injury. I think there are people who are wondering whether or not they need to insulate their quarterback depth chart if they own a player like Peyton Manning. He's gone 3 of his past 5 regular season games. He has not thrown a touchdown pass after going 51 straight games with a touchdown pass. I'm not willing to write Peyton Manning off as of yet. But if you wanted to add a young quarterback or perhaps a veteran like Carson Palmer as your backup, that's okay. You can stash them on your bench. That's a name to keep in mind. Carson Palmer owned in less than 50% of leagues after week 1 on ESPN.com, and I have him as a top 5 quarterback for week 2.
Woo-hoo. Co-hosts of the Fantasy Focus Football podcast, it is Field Yates with Armen and Levack. Carlos Hyde is leading the NFL in rushing. Is he going to finish the year as a top 10 fantasy running back?
I think he's going to be just outside the top 10. I love the matchup for week 2, and obviously he's got a head start with that 29-point performance in week 1. That certainly gives him a chance to be amongst the top 10. There are a lot of running backs that I think before this season I was more excited about, and I'm not willing to just dramatically change my opinion at that point of these players. So Carlos Hyde has a chance. I think he's probably closer to 12 than he is 10.
Field, now one of the most fun things I have to look forward to is when the podcast comes out is the trash talk between you and the talented Mr. Roto and everybody else in the fantasy department. What's your fantasy league like right now? Who took the early lead? Who are the shockers? Like, what's going on in that thing?
Well, there are a bunch of leagues that we play in. The two that I think are probably most prominently referenced are the War Room League, which I'm now on Ed Werder, one of our esteemed NFL insiders here at ESPN. Him and I did not have a good showing going up against Adam Kaplan, one of our other NFL insiders who had Gronk, and basically that meant instant victory for him as early as Thursday night. But Matthew and I also, and I say Matthew and I, but I really mean Matthew, formed a celebrity league, which is going to be an awesome league throughout the year for us to be a part of. Some of the names include Jim Parsons from The Big Bang Theory, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kevin Durant, amongst a bunch of others. And both Matthew and I secured Week 1 victories. I was able to take down the terrific Chris Miller, Philip Lord, the director duo. They're all over the place. Producer director duo, or producers. I should probably get that title correct. But the Lego movie, the Han Solo movie coming up. Those guys are behind the brilliance of those two films, amongst many others. 22 Jump Street. The list goes on and on. So this Leb League is going to be a bunch of fun to follow throughout the year. Is Michael Rappaport driving you nuts trying to get information to try and take down Barry in the Howard Stern League? I haven't heard from Michael yet. They play together in a separate league, but something? Hopefully, I'm sure he's doing his best to make sure he has a leg up on Barry.
ESPN's Field Yates, co-host of the Fantasy Focus Football podcast that he does along with Matthew Berry at Field Yates on Twitter. Field, thanks for stopping by and dropping your knowledge, man. Appreciate you.
All right, guys. Sounds good.